Okay. All right. How are you feeling? You ready to go?
I'm ready to go. Let's
Okay,
do it.
awesome. Let's
Am
do
I,
this thing.
in the right?
Yeah, you're great.
Okay.
Okay. And we can just act like we're having a conversation.
Okay.
We are
Can
having a
Good.
conversation.
I want to look at you and
Yeah. Don't worry.
Okay.
Who cares about that?
Okay. Okay, my friend.
Okay. Lara.
Hi.
Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I love that we're doing this.
Me too. So I'm going to give the listeners a little bit of context. So you have a author summit coming up.
Do.
And we met online.
We did. I stalked you.
And now I'm stalking you. And you live in Ypsilanti, Michigan.
I do.
And I live in North Carolina, but I get up to Toledo often, and I have family in Blissfield, Dundee area. So we decided to meet here I guess we're in Tecumseh, Michigan. I think this
Are we Dundee?
I think this is officially Tecumseh.
I love it. I love that you know this. I live in the state, but you know more about my state than I do. So yay! Oh, actually, no. Wait, no. We did. Did we cross the line? Are we in Ohio?
Yeah, we're in Michigan. We're totally.
Oh, but we're not in Ohio yet.
No.
Okay. Where are we and what are we doing?
But we're not far.
We're right on the line.
We're right on the line.
Any listeners?
Yeah, we're pretty close.
Yeah, and this is beautiful. It's a perfect summer day, and it's amazing.
I mean, it is just, I wish everybody could see. I mean, right behind us is a gorgeous, I don't know, like dam almost, pond thing that is it's got a little falls, and it's got what looks like some sort of mill building, and we're sitting in a park, and I mean, it couldn't be more gorgeous.
It really couldn't. It's like quintessential Midwestern summer.
Yeah. So, can you tell everyone who you are and what keeps you busy?
Oh, great question. Yes, so I am Lara, and I am a writer. I think first and foremost, I have writing in my heart. So when people ask me, like, what do you do? I'm like, I am a writer. Like, words have been, and writing has been kind of a foundational part of me since I was 8. I can remember the first time I wrote a story. I can remember what the paper looked like. I can remember what the pencil looked like as I figured out that I could write stories. So anyway, I've just always been a writer, and writing keeps me very busy. I'm a content creator, so I love to just produce. I'm just a producer, and I like to keep busy that way. And I think that also, it's like the great thing, and it's also the really super hard thing. So for anyone who's listening who might relate, it's like, oh, I love to just produce, and I don't always think about the strategy, or like, why am I doing what I'm doing, or is this really making me happy? So, for example, I run a freelance business on the side, doing freelance writing, and for a while I was doing freelance writing, and it was like, yeah, I can do this. This will pay the bills. Like, I can do this, but is it really making me happy? And sometimes we just have to, I have to step out of production mode and just kind of sit more with, like, what am I really doing? Why am I doing it? And how can it have the most impact?
Yeah. And I just learned this because I picked up your latest book. When did it come out?
So Author Your Life came out in March of this year.
Okay, so I have your latest book, and we put it in the 5 Things Friday email last week.
Yay!
And I'm hoping everybody will get a copy and check it out. But you're a romance author.
I am!
I love that! I love that, and I can't wait to get some of your novels. I love reading romance
You
books.
do?
I do. And it's I'm a voracious reader, and so what I do often is a lot of self-help work, because I'm a coach, and so it's like, okay, how are we going to be better leaders? How are we going to cultivate our creativity? And sometimes I just need I need to play.
Yes.
My brain needs to play with something fun.
Yes.
I
totally get it. Yeah, and romance was so fun to write too. It's like fun to read, it's fun to write. It was a blast. I loved it. I loved romance. So my pen name is Kim Amos, because I also wrote young adult, and I didn't want the young adult kids to be like, look, Lara Zielin's on the shelf, and pick it up and be like, Mommy, what's up? So I took a pen
so you
name.
do YA too.
I started in young adult, and I published.
I love that too.
Oh yes, well, we're each other's people, clearly.
Yeah, I mean, we've got that.
But yeah, I started in young adult, and I published 3 books with Penguin Random House, and then I was working on a 4th book, and I don't think I was creating what the market wanted. My editor was like, it's probably best if we part ways. I had written a book, and we were so far apart in what we thought this book could be or should be, and it just wasn't a good fit anymore. So, and then at that point, my romance career was taking off a little bit, so I was like, no, actually, that's not true. That's actually not true. That's a lie. So my romance career had already taken off at this point, and then it tanked. So let's just be like super real and get everything on the table, which is that like I am not writing young adult or romance anymore because both careers completely, can I swear on this podcast?
Of course you can.
They shit the bed like so hard. And that happens. That happens in publishing. I mean, I think
And
it
people
happens.
don't talk about that.
No, they don't. Because it's embarrassing.
Well, but I mean, here's the interesting thing about it too. You think, okay, this person's written a book, they must have really made it, or they've written multiple
Right.
books, they must be rolling in the dough. And the reality of that is that's not how it works, right?
yeah, not even a little.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
And-
wish it worked that way.
Me
but it
too.
doesn't.
I know. I have a friend who's got a romance novel career that is just taking off, and she's just written 3, and she's like, yeah, I'm really actually an entrepreneur because like you have to pedal so hard
Yes.
what you're doing.
Yes. Yeah, and publishing has changed so much too that they put a lot more on the author than they ever did. So it's like, okay, yeah, we'll publish you, but you have to do your own marketing. You have to do, you have to get your followers. Like they don't help you in the way that they used to, which is both good and bad. But it's like, frankly, it's exhausting. And so
Right.
so some things are out of your control. So for example, they changed my titles. I had no control over my titles, and they gave me a couple covers that I wasn't in love with. And so I think these things are you just have to roll with them, and you have to make the best out of them, and sometimes they work and sometimes they really
do
don't.
not.
Yeah.
So, okay. That kind of brings us to Author Your Life.
Yes.
And Author Your Life, it starts out where you're not happy. It's like January 1st, 2018, and you're not happy. Do you want to take it up from there?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, so as I said, my writing career as a career had really imploded spectacularly, and I had started a business. I'm an entrepreneur too, so I had started a business where my goal was, I was like, okay, listen, if you're the nonprofit and you have $0.0 but you need a new website, or you need a brochure, or you need an annual report, or you need something, instead of hiring me, the expensive copywriter, I will give you a toolkit, and I will sell you a toolkit. You buy it once, and it's going to teach you step by step how to do all of the things that you need to do. This was my idea. This is not what happened. So,
That's how it always goes in entrepreneurship.
Right?
You start with one idea and
Right.
you end up somewhere completely different.
Completely different. So what happened is that these lovely nonprofits would just hire me outright. They're like, yeah, we don't have time. So they have no money and they have no time, but some of them would just hire me. They get a grant or something, and they would just hire me outright
Right.
to just do the work, which it was great and rewarding on a lot of levels, but it was never what I had wanted to do. So fast forward, I sort of had this like business that had failed in the way that I had envisioned it. It had taken on this kind of life of its own in the sense that I was like doing a lot of freelance copywriting, but that was never what I wanted to do. Like that was never my heart. My writing career as a novelist had imploded. I was really just feeling like such a failure, like on so many fronts. And I was pulling away from my husband. I was eating too much. I was drinking too much. I was just really it was depression. I was just really sad, and couldn't figure out where I wanted to go or what I wanted to do or how even to like pull myself up out of this hole. I was just so like, what is my life? And that's when I had this idea that I was like, all right, listen, I have spent so much of my life trying to figure out like, what do my characters want? What would make them happy? What's a satisfying story for Jane, my character? And I was like, well, what if I just like turned that process around and applied it to myself? I was like, okay, well, what would make Lara, the character, happy? And then in my head, I could kind of see this like manuscript, like this stack of paper, and I could like kind of feel the energy from it. And I was like, if I wrote a book that was all about what Lara wanted and what made her happy and what her life became like, and I could hold those pages in my hand, I knew there was power in that. I just knew it. So I started this book, very unimaginatively titled Lara's Life. It was the dumbest title ever. But I just started writing it.
Somewhere.
You have to start somewhere. And I started writing it, and within a year, my life was completely transformed. And what was not really even that much, like it was on the outside, but on the inside, like, I had joy again. My heart felt lighter. I didn't hate myself. I didn't wake up every day thinking like I'm such a loser, sucky person, you know.
Right.
And everything was different.
And that's really important.
And that's the basis of the book.
Yeah. Yeah. And all right, so I've got a copy. And I mean, the thing that I think you and I have bonded over, of many things, I think, and is like the creativity aspect. It's like you have to cultivate creativity in your life, and writing is such a tool to get you there. Even if you don't think you're a writer, you can rewrite your story.
Yes.
And you can even go back to what's happened to you and rewrite that story too. You can change the narrative of the way you perceive your life.
And process it. So you can't change what's happened to you.
Right.
But you can change how you process it and perceive it and let it filter through your heart and your brain, and what you let it, like what you really, I mean, how you let, like there's a story to everything. Everything's just a story, right? And it's, what do we want to tell ourselves? Like, what do we want our own story to be? So like, we have that creative control over our lives.
Yeah.
And that is so powerful, and it's so important. And the thing about creativity too is I think people think of creativity like, oh, it's just this, you know, I'm just not a creative person, or it's just, you know, fairy dust and fake and stupid, and some people need to be artists, but some, you know, it's just not real. It's like extra. Like, we're gonna go to the museum as something that we do because it's raining, not as like, this is life-changing power inside these four walls.
Yeah. Yes.
And I think creativity has the power to change everything, and accessing that. So it really doesn't matter. Like, if you're not a writer, draw out your life. Draw your life. You know, write it, draw it,
Dance it.
Dance it, yes. Speak it, poem it. Yeah, whatever you got to do. Like that, but you have the power to take your creative license. You have the power to take creative license and apply it to it.
Yeah. Okay, so a question that I've been playing with people that have been coming on the podcast, and is, and you've been very open already about what you feel like has been a failure, but what do you think has been the biggest, like, and I'm not afraid to call things I'm one of those weird people that's like, I kind of bring the word, right? Like, bring the word. I want to own that word because it means I'm trying.
Yes.
And I'm really curious about what happens after failure, and what you've learned with that, and then what you do with that. And I'm seeing a lot of people in my life these days, and I don't know what I'm doing to attract this narrative, but folks who are afraid to try, or afraid to do something that to me seems really not necessarily simple or easy, but like, for instance, I think my sister would be okay with me sharing this story, but yesterday we were on a run. It was really hot. We went at the wrong time of day. It was like 10 o'clock in the morning, and she, after the run was done, and it was horrible, you know, I wanted to go like 7, we ended up going like 3, and we walked a lot. And so, you know, those little teeny tiny failures, right? And so, but what she was saying to me, and my sister is a teacher, and she teaches science and math and to like 8th graders, and she was talking about that. She was like, I wonder what the barometric pressure is like today. And my brain would never have gone there.
Yeah.
And she said a lot of times when you get a lot of barometric pressure, like when it's a high pressure system, it's hotter. Because it's like, and she was talking about how how air has weight, and like all of these really fascinating things. And I was like, that's interesting. Like, I wonder in life, like how that relates to life. And I was like, Anne, let's do a little Facebook Live, and you can talk about this, and I can talk about how it relates to life. And she's like, no. She's like, Alicia, she's like, that seems so easy for you because you do it all the time. But there's so many reasons why I wouldn't. If as a teacher, I don't want to do that because if I say the wrong things, or if I say something that's not correct, you know, parents could not want you to teach their kids, and it's not something I'm comfortable with, and I'd want to prepare, and I'd want to post it when I want to post it. And it just seemed like such an interesting thing of a piece of like how afraid we can be to put ourselves out there or fail. Yeah. And you and I very quickly are just like, okay, so what have you done recently? I bring all of that up. I tell that story because I think that the more we can hear from people who have done the thing and watched it tank, or as you said, I love this, shit the bed.
Yeah, right.
That's a great visual. And then learned after, what's something that felt like a really powerful, like, shit the bed, and then I learned the best lesson?
Oh, wow. So many things. I mean, I think to your point, failure is our best teacher. And we don't fail when if we try something and we don't succeed at it. I don't think that's failure. I think that's just learning.
Right.
I think we really fail when we don't try at all. That's true failure.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
and I'm seeing a lot of that these days.
It's so funny. Yeah, people are so afraid to put themselves out there. And I get it. Like, I get it that it's a mean and cruel, it can be a mean and cruel world out there. And especially for those of us who are doing anything publicly. So that, that's one thing that I struggle with, is like this idea that I am a public figure now. You can see me, I am not a size 2, I am not, I'm a bigger person, like I take up space, I have funky glasses, I have, I'm not a wallflower, and that's gonna push somebody's button in some way. I know it is, it will, not everybody's gonna respond to this. And so that would, for the longest time, that terrified me. And I'm like, I can't put, myself on social media, and I can't, No, you just do it. You just do it. And it's all okay, because it can't really hurt you. And if they make you, if somebody out there makes you feel something, it's just a feeling. Like, it's okay. It's okay. So that's not really an answer to your question, because I want to get back to like,
no, but that's a great digression. That's like a powerful digression. It's part of the narrative of what we're talking about.
Yeah, and I just want people to feel like you can put yourself out there. Not even, and I don't mean publicly like what we're doing.
Right.
I just mean like, just put yourself out there with, just try something. It could be as simple as taking a ceramics class. It could be as simple as trying to write your memoir. It could, you've got to start.
I think it's as simple too as saying what you want.
Oh yeah.
And then not being afraid to start taking baby steps to go after it.
Amen.
Right? Because some I've seen recently in some of my friend circles where they're like, I'm scared to even say what I want.
Yes.
Because then if I don't get it, won't it hurt more?
Yeah.
And yeah, it might, but won't it hurt more if you don't get it at all? I mean.
Yeah. So this is what I want to say, is that I think this is so important. So everybody just like get a piece of paper and a pencil, because we're never like, we don't have to, it's okay if we don't know how to start, and it's okay if we don't know where to start. So what I want you to do, for anybody who feels stuck and they feel so afraid to even begin, like, just write in the third person your name, like you would write, Alicia believes she can start. Alicia trusts her heart. Alicia feels her fear and starts anyway. Just start at the meta. Like, we want to dive in and be like, I shouldn't feel this fear, and I should just get past this, and we want to get to the
The happy ending.
Totally. So go meta. I want everybody to go meta and use, so the reason that we do this in the third person is because of cognitive distance, and it fools your brain into believing it's true, and it's like, your brain is like, oh, I can totally believe that.
I'm eating this up right now. I'm like loving this.
Yeah, your eyes are like, you're in it. So just go above the problem. Don't try to solve it. Just go above it and write, you feel your fear and you do it anyway. Like Alicia feels her fear, she does it anyway. Get to the root. Try to get to the root maybe of what's holding you back. So for me, I fear a lot of, public shame, public ridicule. So I will write things like, Lara loves herself no matter what. Lara believes that she's worthy. And if I can believe that in my heart, then nobody can take that away from me, right? So I'll just write, Lara, writing that you love yourself is like the first thing. Like, just do that above everything. Your name has courage. Lara has courage. Alicia has courage.
Right.
You don't have to solve the problem, but you got to start fooling your brain into thinking that it's possible.
Which is what your book is all about.
That is what my book is all about. It's really a way. It's like a tool.
I want everybody to get it. Like, I brought my copy. Like, I want everybody, and we're doing a little YouTube video, but like, I want everybody to get the book. Like, this is awesome. Because anything that gives us an access point to getting to know ourselves better is an incredible, powerful tool to help us get what we want.
Mm-hmm. And it removes a tiny little bit of that, like, terrifying, like, I don't know, because we're we're all of a sudden we're just characters.
Right.
We're just characters in a story, and our brain's like, all right, I can handle that. It's true cognitive dissonance. So if you say, like, if you tell yourself, if you're like, I'm gonna run 7 miles and eat green smoothies all week, like, your brain's like, no, you're not. I know that there's Pringles in the cupboard, and we're just gonna eat the Pringles. Like, your brain
if
is
I'm
like,
running 7 miles every day, I'm gonna eat some ice cream.
right? But if I came to you and I was like, Alicia, I have a goal, and I'm going to run 7 miles every day, and I'm going to eat green smoothies every day. You'd be like, yes, you are. Yes, you are, Lara. I believe in you. I love you.
Well,
You
we
got
might
this.
talk about some nutrition and be like, you might need something else besides green smoothies, but okay.
But, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to walk a mile and eat green. I don't know. Whatever it is. But if I had a goal that I brought to you, you would have your pom-poms out in a minute for me.
You would be like, rah, rah, rah.
You would think I could do anything.
Yes.
But when it comes to ourselves, who are we meanest to? Number one, we're so mean to ourselves. So when we write in the third person, like a character, it's like our brain is like, oh, heck yeah, Alicia, you can totally do that. Like, our brains get fooled a little bit, and that is so powerful. It's such a good tool.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Okay. What's something you've done recently that's scared you and taken courage, but you did it anyway?
Many things. I think writing this book, it's highly vulnerable.
Because you're putting your whole self out there.
Oh yeah. So hello listeners, if you want to know about my sex life, it's in this book. If you want to know about my drinking, it's in this book. Like, I just put everything on the page, like everything. And I thought, my colleagues could read this, my parents are going to read this, my neighbors could read this. And I thought, I just got to do it. I just have to do it. And one of my favorite podcasts is this duo, and well, it's everywhere now. It's called My Favorite Murder. Probably everybody knows about it. It's like kind of a big deal right now. They just published a book. I love them. They get stuff wrong all the time.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they get stuff wrong all the time, and they own it, and they're just like, oh, we just get it wrong. Like, they'll get facts and dates and place names wrong, and it's because, I mean, they're not historians. They just like to talk about...
They're telling a story.
Yeah, they're telling a story, and you get stuff wrong sometimes when you tell a story, and that's been so freeing. And they also bring their whole selves to it, so they talk very frankly about mental health. They talk very vulnerably about money stuff, money issues that they've had. They talk really vulnerably about all this stuff, so it's given me courage to just put but it's terrifying to be like, hello, I will tell you now about how I overeat and how I just want to sit on the couch because sometimes I'm afraid to leave the house.
Oh my God, yeah.
For example.
Okay, that one hits local, so I don't want to leave.
Right? I just want to stay like a safe little cocoon.
Yeah, I get that.
Yeah. So I would also encourage anyone to also like embrace them. I mean, this is very Brene Brown of all of us, right?
I love Brene Brown.
Right.
I mean, who doesn't?
Who doesn't love Brene? She's so great, and she's really been such a good teacher of like when we bring that vulnerability. Okay, going back to the colleagues, I was so afraid, like, what would my colleagues think? I have had now 3 colleagues come up to me and like share these really deep stories with me about like stuff that they're struggling with. They feel like so much more able to talk to me because I was like, here's my story, and they read the book and they didn't react like, oh my God, Lara's such a freak. They're like, oh, she's human, she's a person, and she's got struggles just like the rest of us, and it has opened the coolest doors. So vulnerability is terrifying, and let's all do it.
It's like when you jump in the pool together.
Yeah.
You know, where you're like, okay, I know it's going to be cold at first, but let's just do it.
Yep.
And then
hold
you're like,
hands
have so
and
much
jump
fun.
off the dock. Totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or sometimes somebody just has to be the first one in the pool. They just got to go and be like, there's no alligators here. It's fine. It's a pool.
Yeah. I mean, yesterday I was at the Wilford family reunion, and my cousin was just like, Alicia, how are you really doing? And, you know, I'm sitting with 2 of my other, you know, cousins, peers, the people that have known you since the longest. And I could have been like, oh, I'm fine. And I was like, you know what? I'm actually not okay. And then, but because I was able to say that, then we could go deep. Yes. And then we could share. And then we could get there, you know?
Yeah.
And it's so great when you can, like, jump in the pool together.
Let's all jump. Let's all jump together.
Let's go swimming.
Maybe not in that river.
Yeah. Okay, so creativity is a huge part of the work that I do with clients.
Yes.
I mean, I think creativity gets us to that place within ourselves where we can know ourselves the best. I think creativity is absolutely everything. And I ascribe to the school of Julie and Cameron thought, where we are all artists and everything is creativity. I mean, from the tree growing behind us to the birds chirping in the air to the, our sexuality, everything, all of that is an act of creativity. And even those of us that believe we're creative beings, sometimes we just don't feel like it, right?
Yeah.
So one of the questions I like to ask is, what keeps you creating when you don't feel like it?
That is such a good question. Because it's true. Like, so many of us, it's not like we wake up every day and we're like, I can't wait to create. Sometimes you just feel like you need an extra cup of coffee and you just want to watch Netflix. Like, let's do a Stranger Things marathon. That is such a good question. I think I think there's so much power in just doing it anyway. Do you have that? Like, when you just don't feel like it, you just do it anyway?
It's funny, the thing that's taught me that the most has been running.
Yes.
Because I actually never feel like running. It's more that I understand that a core value of mine is health, and I want my body to feel good.
Yes.
And so, in order to help my body feel good on a long-term basis, and to make room for the ice cream I want to eat later, and I'm going to eat later,
Yes.
I okay, what can I do to help me feel good? And in the moment, I don't want to do the running, but I know that my future self will thank me for that.
Right.
So that has taught me, that has had reverberations through the rest of my life, and that it's taught me, like, I'm writing a book right now, and I'm having a difficult time writing that, and so I'm just, like, I was at the beach last week, and I would sit down for 45 minutes every morning, and I would write for 45 minutes, and I would write crap for 45 minutes, and I'm like, nobody's gonna read this. And then later in the afternoon, I would do a little bit of editing, and maybe I got something that, maybe there's a nugget in there, but it was just the act of doing it, that I wanted to create the habit.
Yes.
So that for me is what does it. But I'm curious, like, you worked with a publisher. I mean, you had deadlines. You had, like, what got you going in that?
I mean, I think it is a lot just like sitting your butt in the chair and being okay with the crap. I mean, I'm a runner also. Our bodies are very different.
Right.
I'm a very slow runner. I
So
run
too.
about 12-minute miles.
That's awesome.
But I did a half marathon this year. Like, I can call myself a runner.
You're a runner.
And the thing is, like, my running buddy and I always say, like, we are we're always faster than the people who never started the race. Like, we're always faster than the people who never got up off the couch.
Yes.
And so just getting out there, even if it's ugly, even if you're just the slowest one, even if it's just the worst pages ever, like, just getting out there, just putting your pen to paper, just trying, you're already light years ahead of everybody else.
And that goes back to what we were talking about earlier, too. Like, if you don't try, you're never going to be ahead of, you're never going to, it's like you're just having a race with yourself, right? You'll never get to that if you don't start.
Right. Because nobody's criticizing us as much as we're criticizing us. I bet if you showed me those pages, I'd be like, Alicia, those are awesome pages, right?
Maybe not that, but there's a glimmer of what it's going to be.
Yeah. Yes, and I could probably see that in what you're writing.
Right.
And so that would bring me to the second thing that I would really recommend to people, which is, so in the hero's journey, in the template of stories that apply to every story, from our personal journeys to Star Wars to Harry Potter, we're all living the hero's journey, and it's a universal template. And this template always has the hero, who's you, having this moment where they meet the mentors. It's this moment of their story where they meet the mentors. And so it's just so important. Like, no hero ever is meant to do their journey alone. There's always, like, allies and friends who come in and help them, right? We all need our Sam to help us throw our ring in Mount Doom, right? We need Sam to help us along the way. So what I would tell people is, if you're struggling, like, look for friends, look for mentors, look for allies, look for coaches,
Yes.
look for people, look for accountability. Because let me tell you, I would never go running if it wasn't for my running buddy.
Oh, same.
Right?
Yeah.
You need a
same.
buddy, and you need get a writing group, get a whatever you need for that accountability, for that, the health, the exercise, like, whatever it is. Get a friend, get a mentor, get an ally along the way. We're never meant to do this alone, and it helps so much when you've got somebody there with us.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Okay, so on this podcast, we always pull an animal spirit card. Would you like an animal spirit? Yes.
I love an animal spirit card.
And it always comes at a different time. Like sometimes I do it at the beginning, sometimes I do it at the end.
Oh,
Okay, so
I love this deck. It is so beautiful.
I feel the same way. I don't know, there was just something, I actually tried out a lot of decks
Yeah.
before I kind of landed on this particular one. And then I found out recently that somebody, like, you're supposed to be, like, given your tarot deck.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that did not happen with me, but this is my deck.
Yeah.
you know?
And I have to ask, do you feel like you have that sort of like spidey tingle, that you are kind of a little bit connected to spirits and the spirit realm?
You know, if you had asked me that maybe 2 or 3 years ago, the answer would have been no. But I do feel like there's an intuition muscle,
Uh-huh.
and I honestly really feel like, I think that there are some people that really have that, like, innate, like they are intuitives and they are complete psychic.
Yeah.
And I definitely think that I have a pretty strong intuition, but I've learned how to flex that intuition muscle.
Nice.
And so I think it's coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
How about you? Are you?
I am not terribly. No. I think like you, I'm getting better at reading energy, but that's just there anyway,
Yeah.
right? Like I like you, I think.
Yeah,
we
but
can-
not everyone can read it.
Yeah, I'm getting better. My husband's really good at reading energy. He runs an ice cream store, which we have to get you up to the ice cream store.
Yes, we do.
But he has this uncanny ability, like when he calls it punching the shark. So when somebody comes into the store and they've got a crappy energy, he will like zone in on them and like turn them. And he's like, we just go for the shark and we punch it in the nose. And by the time they leave, they're like, this is the best place. I had the best time. And he just knows how
He
to
knows
do
how
that.
to do that.
And I don't know how to do that.
That's incredible.
I'm figuring it out. I'm getting better, but
Yeah.
he's a good teacher for that. And anyway, so I think it's all
That's so fascinating. Well, I'm going to digress a little bit more before we pull your card,
Okay.
since you asked that question. I have an incredible editor of this podcast. So he's what makes this podcast happen.
nice.
And he's very intuitive and psychic.
Ooh.
And so it's interesting because I'd be like, I knew you were going to call me.
It's like not surprised.
Yeah,
Hello.
yeah, and so it's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's really cool, actually. He's a wise man. At some point, I'll have to bring him on to like talk about the
Yes.
process.
Yeah.
Because I am very lucky that not only do I encounter a lot of wise women, but there are some really wise men that have been super supportive, and that's an awesome thing, right?
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
Oh, I'd love to hear.
Okay,
this.
go ahead.
Okay, what
Put
do I
your
do?
hands on the deck, close your eyes, and take a couple big deep breaths. And then whenever you are ready, you're going to open your eyes, and with your left hand, you're going to cut the deck into 3 piles. And then flip over the top card of anyone you'd like. Ooh, the nightingale. Okay, so this is a creature of the air.
Yeah.
And creatures of the air are known to see more than others. It's interesting what we were just talking about.
Yeah.
But sometimes the speed at which they move can leave them ungrounded. So if you ever feel ungrounded, or if today you feel ungrounded, slow walks in nature.
Okay.
Yeah, but we're kind of like, I think we're grounding this energy as, just being right here where we are. And then I'm going to read you what it says about the nightingale.
Okay.
And I love Kim Kranz's work, and so I love to share her actual words as opposed to my interpretation of the card, because they're just so beautiful. So, fearless voice,
Ooh.
speech, communication, or song. The song of the nightingale is otherworldly. The simple brown bird, almost unnoticeable among the flashy plumage of other birds, transports its listener to the realm of poetry. Nightingale energy is with us when we write, compose, and especially when we sing. It reminds us that music heals the deepest wounds. This card indicates a need to open the bridge between the heart and the voice. Is there something you need to say? How long has it been since you sang? Turn it up, write it down, and let it out. When in balance, sings, speaks freely with kindness. When out of balance, shy, lump in the throat. To bring into balance, music.
All right.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
That is so I almost teared up a little bit. That's really powerful, and it's exactly where I am. Like, I think so.
Oh, hang on.
Oh, yep.
Battery's low. I thought that might happen. So the YouTubers are going to get to see, like, what happens during a podcast.
Oh, and they saw me drink my bubble tea.
Yeah,
Look at
and
my
they
bubble
see
tea.
me.
This is like
Next, this is just part of how it goes.
it's kind of like behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Your intuitive editing guy can't even edit this part out. No, he can. He's gonna think I knew that was coming. I knew she was gonna do that.
Okay, so let me just check the levels. Okay, can you say something?
Hello.
Hello, awesome. Okay, so you're saying you kind of got teary-eyed?
Yeah. This is a good one, and I think for those of us who are, we have the connection between creativity and business.
Yes.
It's easy to just get into the business mode. I'm like super in my business mode right now, and I think I need to. I've been feeling this like itch to create more. I have to have the strategy, and I have to have the business side and everything, but of course I have to keep connecting and creating for what's in my heart. And yeah, I just maybe need to go home and write a little bit today and turn up the music while I drive
You're
home.
gonna have to take a picture of that and sing it out on the way home.
Heck yeah.
Okay, so how do you live a life of abundance?
Oh, I'm so lucky. I'm so blessed. I feel like I am abundant in every area. I'm so lucky. So I have a great partner. We have a beautiful home that we love. We have a great dog. She's a little Chihuahua mix, and she's hilarious. And her name is Munster, after the cheese. But I also am very deliberate in cultivating abundance. And one of the things that I write all the time in my story is that I'm worthy. Lara is worthy. Because it's really easy as a Midwesterner and as just a woman in this world to think like, no, I don't deserve that. No, that's too much. Like, I shouldn't have that.
And we think it subconsciously too.
Yeah, we do. And we don't always reach for something or take our place or allow ourselves to have something or accept a blessing because we're like, no, I couldn't. I always do the Minnesota accent with it because, oh, no, I couldn't. No. Rob's grandma had that accent. She was like, oh, do you want a raspberry bar? I just made them. So cute. But yeah, I think we don't always accept the abundance that's available to us. So I will write all the time in Lara's life, Lara is worthy. Lara accepts abundance. Lara believes that she is able to have nice things and have adventures and live a full life. And I have to remind myself of that a lot because it's easy in this world to think that you can't.
Well, Lara, thank you so much for being on the podcast today.
Oh, Alicia, this was divine. Thank you for having me. I'm so glad we connected in person. You are a light, and I hope that we're friends for a long time.
I think so.